Hello and welcome to Urban Gothic Series 2, Episode 8, Dollhouse Burns, Part 1. For fuck's sake, they're taking the storyline thing so seriously they're now having parts in their titles. We see all sorts of flashbacks, and yes, try to hide the fact that Gay Spike is not played by Sean Maguire again. He was too busy appearing in Meet the Spartans or something. There's also flashbacks to Membrane because I'm sure this'll all make sense in the end. Oh, sorry, I sort of turned into Jack Nicholson there. And hey, flashbacks to Serotonin Wild. You know what would be nice? If the stories that were part of your epic storyline were any good. Couldn't you have built off of pineapple chunks and necromance instead of Dead Meat 13 and the rest of this shit? With the flashback over, we see the sort of buggy that 790 would drive around in Lex. There's more locks working happily, and Callie is suddenly awake.
I don't suppose any of you smoke. I'm dying for a fag.
Well, aren't you lucky Gay Spike's one of the main characters then? After the intro, we get introduced to a professional Annie Lennox impersonator and a guy who's been randomly redubbed. I say randomly because no one else has. Listen to them talking.
You're a dirty old boss, did you know that?
What's the matter, Winter? Jealous you didn't get first crack?
Yeah, right.
Watching these two is like trying to watch a bizarre version of the X-Files where one half of the duo's being dubbed from a foreign language. And the fact that later on we find out that they operate out of a lecture theatre in a local college just adds to the effect. Whoever found Callie sedated her, so they decide to wake her up again. So was all her life a dream, or only what happened to her in Serotonin Wild? Oh yeah, stop asking questions, cause fucked if I know and I already watched this. At least I know one thing, that whoever these guys are, they don't attach their patients to anything medical when they're sedated.
Wake up, Sleeping Beauty.
So, she's awake then.
Jude Redfield.
I need to say your name so the audience will realise you're the exact same guy who was in the flashbacks. I love how even though this is a year later, he's still wearing the exact same clothing. Either it's amazing luck or it's a wardrobe full of powder blue jumpers. I suppose it helps the audience realise he's the same guy, because what with having half the muscle and double the stubble, he's clearly not. Anyway, remind the audience about stuff ahoy.
The city's storyteller. And you, Mr. Severin, are the director of the Institute.
The best feature of this scene is that they don't really tell us what either of these things are. They do, however, let slip that the Institute is opposed to the mystical evil in London. I'd start with Ian Duncan Smith, but that's just me.
It's not a giant or a dragon. You can't hit it over the head with a sword until it goes away.
That's why it's good to start with Ian Duncan Smith. You could hit him on the head with a sword.
And that is why you let it take the one soul you ever cared about.
I love how he was staring at a boat as he said that. Makes me think he was talking about the random garden houseboat from 13 and not his girlfriend, who's currently being inhabited by all the evil of London. Somehow. So, in their elite super police lecture theatre, Scalder and Mully tell Callie that they received a tip-off from an anonymous source, and they found her along with 80 other people who were listed as missing, and they want to know who kidnapped and froze her. 1. Why are you only asking her? Aren't any of the others alive and able to answer questions? 2. Are you really expecting answers? Having kidnapped and frozen some people in my time, I know that the people who do that go out of their way to not be seen by their victims, so they can't answer questions should they ever escape. 3. Why are people from a government super team questioning her in a technical college? And 4. Why the hell was she recording the conversation? The only thing I can think of is she wants to turn it into some sort of a weird piece of video art. And given the direction in Serotonin Wild, that doesn't surprise me. The talking continues and continues and continues, and we find out that the team from Membrane were sent in by this organisation, and the lab was theirs. So why were they trying to create God? You'd think they'd answer that. Well, you'd think that. I wouldn't. I've watched this show too much. So anyway, the British government sent a team of students into their own destroyed lab of evil. Very nice, but why are their corridors located in what looks like a modern art museum? And why did they send in fucking students? Did they spend an unusual amount of the budget on white paint, and they couldn't afford anyone better? They decide to take Callie to the only survivor of the team from Membrane, who's the guy in the brown jacket, even though he wasn't actually in the team from Membrane, but was watching what they did via computers. Of course, given how confusingly self-contradictory and just plain stupidly weird this plot is, I'm beginning to think that the trick to working it out is to watch for what doesn't happen and try to construct a story out of that. Callie doesn't turn into a panther, and Gay Spike isn't played by Sean Maguire, and they never have sex. Therefore, Sean Maguire and Panther Callie fucking Battleine Duncan Smith, because he's not in this. I'm showing you how to really chew the scenery, and oh, can I nibble your ears?
You know 9 times out of 10 the bad guy loses.
9 times.
You'll have to excuse Winter. She graduated to CDAD by facing off with the ghost of a genetically modified ape. She's a little highly strung.
Wait, what the fuck? Why couldn't we have an episode based on that? That sounds much better than most of the episodes of this series. So they find brown-jacketed guy from Membrane in the basement, where they keep all the insane people, because he's insane now. Insane in the membrane. Of course, he has easy access to knives, so he can make his room extra comfy with his blood. And how nice of them to lock her in there with him. I'm sure, like all crazy people in seclusion, unable to sleep because of a massive fucking fan, and with easy access to blades, he's completely harmless. No. You don't beat him up, you get yourself killed. How can they be expected to learn anything if they don't have to file the "I'm an idiot and I got a woman under my jurisdiction killed because I'm a moron" paperwork? So they take an ominous black car of doom to Battersea Power Plant, and Gay Spike walks right past. He can sense when shit's going down and likes to stand nearby, ominously. I think he got that ability when he replaced Richard O'Brien. It's a pity, because this guy's no Sean Maguire, who's no Richard O'Brien. They decided to bring Brown Jacket Guy to where they found Callie, for some reason, and he's basically Gollum in a room full of rings, of various sizes, shapes and colours, i.e. mental and confused. This show really feels like 60% of what I need to know to understand what the fuck is going on has been tossed into a fire for a laugh. As they investigate, the other version of brown-suited guy from Membrane turns up, but without his mask, because I assume DC Comics threatened to sue. He's killing people and cricking his neck at the camera, because it's scary. But hey, now there's dolls playing babies in a green room. That's always a good sign, and couldn't you keep your lunatic on a leash or something? It's our own. Our precious. Skulder's worked out what's going on. Well, more than I've worked out anyway, though he could be guessing.
Clones.
Yes, clones. Huzzah for clones, and clones banding together to defeat non-clones.
Who are you?
A copy of a copy of a copy.
Excuse me. The next person to say the word copy gets a hollow point in the face.
I didn't say copy. Yeah, well, I didn't shoot you in the face. And you did say copy. There now. Gay Spike, because of his distracting hair, can just walk into anywhere he feels like. Elite strip clubs, government buildings, and even basements with green lighting.
Popcorn?
This really isn't a very good time.
It's just an idea, but you might want to try shooting the original.
Oh.
Wait, why did that work? How did he know? Why did the guy from Membrane go evil? What happened to that guy's mouth? Why did the brown jacket guy go insane?
I'm sorry, but who exactly are you?
Oh great, ask the one question I already know the answer to. Gay Spike tells them answers to everything. Well, everything that doesn't help us work out what exactly is going on. How does he know anything about any of this? I don't know, and they're not telling us. We're lucky we get a one-line explanation of what's been going on this season.
Well, basically, you've stepped into the middle of a war between an ancient evil and a twisted secret society.
I think that's about as good as any of us are going to get, so I'm going to try and not complain about it and just go with it. The Institute apparently used to be good, and now they're evil and using clones, and they're trying to create the Antichrist using VR technology because when you turn evil, you automatically lose any semblance of sensibility. And mid-monologue, he stops to put some popcorn onto a dead guy's face. That's special. He also explains that he's a lazy bastard because as storyteller he can't do anything. Just watch stuff and eat cinema popcorn. Anyway, the rest of the X-Files arrive, Callie and Skulder get arrested, and Mully shoves a gun in Gay Spike's face.
You're not going to shoot.
What makes you think that?
The law mostly. Shooting a clearly unarmed man is a little bit illegal.
Hey! Our orders were to retrieve operative Cole. Why is your unit moving into the installation? Oh, well, you've made your position quite clear.
Ah, fuck. When I walked off and couldn't keep my eyes on the blonde twat who hadn't cuffed or anything, I totally didn't expect him to use his legs. That's not fair! So in desperation, she grabbed some equipment out of her car. Urban Gothic. All of the thrills of seeing a woman use a remote-controlled car in a foggy room while people shoot other people. Available now on DVD for you to enjoy forever. They put Sculder into an equally Ridley Scott-style jail cell as Brown Jacket Guy was in earlier, and then he gets his throat slit. And Callie appears to be being rape-tested for some reason.
I take it you are unhappy with the way the terrorist installation is being handled.
Oh, and the head of the Institute is also the boss of the X-Files, who has real trouble hiding his being really fucking obviously cartoonishly sinister, especially when talking to an unconscious woman called Callie.
You're like a puppy on a leash.
So Callie suddenly wakes up and just decides to become the Antichrist.
I don't think my parents would approve.
Okay, they just made about 0.05% of the shit that's been happening sorta, kinda, maybe, sorta, maybe, kinda makes sense. A bit. But jeez, if the third series happens, I beg you, keep away from plot lines. Just stick to one-off episodes. This was bad in every way. Ridiculous, confusing, terribly written, terribly acted, and awful looking. You know, you used to have potential, show. You pissed it away. Wait a sec, that Lennox impersonator, that was the lesbian detective from Some of the Parts. So I did see her battle with the ghost of a genetically modified ape. It was episode 6 of the first series. It really wasn't as thrilling as I'd hoped. And when the fuck in that episode did they state it was an ape?